Good evening, my lettering friends. Thank you for joining me. Those of you here on the replay, if you have any questions about today's chat, you can send me a message through the blog, through Twitter, through Facebook, or Instagram, where I'm also at CreativLEI. Glad to have you here. Good evening. Can you believe we've been together for a whole week already? It's October 7th, so we are 7 days in. That's exciting. You've done your homework. That's awesome. If you're new here, have only been on the last couple of scopes, remind me of your first name so that I can start to learn them slowly but surely. Catching up on Monday's work. That's good stuff too. You're really not very far behind at all. This week is still continuing with different changes to our regular, yay, Tiffany's made a live scope. Tina and Stephanie are here. It's good to have you. Erica. Oh, Elisa, good. I saw your message earlier. Yes, so for those of you who are new to my broadcast, my name is Lisa. I blog at CreativLEI.com, and the reason why all these wonderful ladies are coming in here is because nightly we have been chatting about the 31 Days to Love Your Lettering. That is a series I've been running on my blog for October. Sorry. Marcy, I am a lefty also. So last night I did some writing for the ladies that were on the Periscope, and some of them were watching a lefty write for the first time, so that was interesting for them. Later in the month I will be able to get on to Periscope with some of my right-handed friends to show you samples while we write together at the 2-to-1 conference next week. It's coming up so fast and I can't wait. You haven't done today's lesson yet. That's okay. We can chat. I know I got some feedback from some of the girls that are following from over on Ravelry that they would like to see some better close-up and straight-on shots of my samples. Why didn't you ever practice before? I think we forget about the practice because I think we have these bad memories of penmanship practice and handwriting practice in elementary school when we really didn't want to be doing it. Like we wanted to just write or draw or do something else. You still haven't found the right pen for this. Yeah, there's a few girls that are still looking for better pens also. I will work on better close-up pictures for the next couple lessons, especially because it's going to be different techniques, and I think you'll want and need to see it a little bit close up if you've never done it before. And I know it will help tomorrow to show that on the broadcast as well. So I'll work a little bit bigger in my notebook, and I will get some better close-up shots. I haven't done printables for all these lessons just because that wasn't in my original plan. Because posting daily is a big challenge for me, so to work, on printables also is probably just a little bit more than I can handle right now. But there's potential for the future. The Sharpie pen, yeah, oh, you know what? I have my pens, like most of my fine line black pens are in front of me, and I do have, I have the IdentiPen by Sakura in front of me. Your supplies came from Amazon. That's awesome. Did you have fun going through and unboxing them all? Because that's always fun when I get a new pen order in. I like to do sample pages of them and kind of run through them. Does it bleed through even the doubled up pages, the Sharpie pen? I have the Mono Twin from Tombow that I love, but I have not used that in my practice notebook. Tried to get the printables but couldn't get them. Oh, of the blue ones that were up from yesterday, or I guess today, this morning's email is when they came out to you guys. Send me an email and we'll see. They should come through. You should get a link through email. Your Sharpie pen is not bleeding through. There are a couple of different Sharpie pens. Let me pull mine from my the Tombow brush pens are one of my favorites, absolutely. So for those of you that want to have a glimpse of my crazy pen collection. Okay, so I've got, alright, so here's some Sharpie pens. These are fine lines. What else do we have? I'm not going to use brush pens tonight. Here's the micron. Pull a few microns for you. Yeah, Walmart has the multi-packs of different Sharpie pens. For this challenge, I'm using mostly black. You think your graph paper is quite cheap and had a hard time finding a good one. Yeah, well, pads of graph paper sometimes are a little bit different. I have a couple different paper pads in front of me today because someone was asking about slanted letters too. Thank you. That was from, hi Sarah. My pen or my desk organizer is actually from the houseware section at Marshall's and Home Goods, and I think that they're jewelry and makeup organizers, but I use them for desk organizers for inks and pens and things like that. I like them because they're clear, so I can see what's in them. You're using the Happy Planner graph paper. It's very nice and thick. Oh yeah, that's probably like a thin, or like one of the heavier weight bond paper, or like a thinner cardstock, because I didn't think it was really rigid. You want to see them again? Sure. Okay. All right, so what these are actually, they're all stackable. So it's it's a 3-drawer set. I have 2 3-drawer sets together, and then these little organizers fit right into, there's a lip on the top. So I keep 2 of these, and they have my black pens stay here. This is calligraphy and fountain pens. These are gel pens. These are paint pens. More paint pens. These are, sorry, everything's in the way. These are my Sharpie, I think just brushes. No, those are Sharpie oil pens. I've got some Copics over here. I've got all my white pens here. I've got the Ink Joys and the Sharpies in here. These are some of the friction clickers. Yeah, my art stuff is the only thing that stays somewhat organized. The rest of the house is not. I'm working on it slowly. These are all brush pens, which we're going to get. Yes, I definitely have a pen addiction, maybe just a little. So later in the month, we're going to talk about brush pens. And that was, I think some of you have already tested out your Tombow pens, and you love them just as much as I do. And I saw Tombow put today up on Instagram that their brush pens are going to be out of stock until like December. And I was like, I think I may know some girls that may have caused that outage. And so then on top I have my page flags. I've got some pencils from the Target Dollar Spot. I've got inks and Post-it notes. How many of you are planner girls out there? So still try Amazon, and Jet Pens may still have some in stock. If Tombow is not selling, if Tombow doesn't have them, Tombow doesn't have them in stock in their warehouse right now, doesn't mean that the other places don't still have some of their stock. Yay, all the planner girls. So yeah, there's my corner punches for my planners. So lots of good stuff. Page flags, sticky notes. So there's a little peek at that stuff. 12-step program for the pen addiction. If there is, I don't even want to know about it. I love my pens, and like, I can't stop. But I use them all. Like, I definitely use quite a number of them on a regular basis. Even, yeah, I'll show you. This is my pen bag that comes with me to church on Sundays. I work in a journaling Bible. Sorry, can't do it one-handed. So I keep my Stapler fine liners in there, my friction markers in there, and this is where all my whatever black pens I'm using stay. So yeah, my husband has made fun of me in church on Sunday, saying that I make too much noise with all my pens, but I can't help it. I need them. How else am I going to take notes? I sit in a pew. Yeah, we don't have tables at church, so I work in my lap. Sometimes what I do is, so this is, I guess it's sort of off topic. The clear pouches. I used to just have one of these clear pencil boxes that I carried, just a few pens in, but I found that this made more noise because as I rifled through it to get the pen I was looking for, it's actually quieter to use my big pen bag. But usually all I'm doing during church is marking my inductive notes, and occasionally I'll be doing my margin notes. Any bigger work I usually do at home. Okay, so on to chatter about today's lesson. So today's assignment was adding whimsy to our lettering, and it kind of so far we're bringing together all the principles that we're learning earlier on when we talked about our, you're a Bible journaler too, that's awesome. I thought you guys might have fun with today now that we're kind of moving away from some of the strict rules. So we have our natural hand was our first lettering challenge, and then we did the basic shapes of good letter forms, and then we refined our letters by taking into account what the basic forms are. So making sure that all those letters were paid attention to. And then yesterday we did some altering just by changing the bowls or changing the angle of the bowl, just small details. And so we also wrote, whimsy is much more fun to practice. It's a little bit intimidating at first because you're breaking the rules, but it gets more fun because it's where you allow your personality to come out more. We did kind of anatomy of lettering yesterday. We labeled what the different parts are. So after doing the exercise that had us practicing the shapes, we actually labeled those. So I don't know if you guys have made those connections yet about which shapes were which portion of the letters, but hopefully that'll start to come together because we will go back to those basic shapes as we change pens also later in the month. When we do the calligraphy pen, when we do a brush pen, we're going to go back to that. So that was just the slight alterations. And now today we added whimsy. And I thought it was really fun to do the letter anatomy. Some people did. I didn't necessarily give instruction to do whimsy, but changing just the shape of the bowls and stuff like that. You don't like cursive. Maybe when we get to brush lettering and faux modern calligraphy, you might like cursive a little more, which is, I think that's tomorrow's lesson. Do I do tutorials for beginners? Well, I would say, and everyone else in here will have to give some feedback too, but I believe that we started so basic and we really are going kind of slowly. It's picking up a little bit of momentum now, but we've really just kind of built a foundation to go forward into the creative lettering. And so today was the first day that we really got a little more crazy with our letters. And even that is still, like when I say crazy, what I'm really talking about is I'm just adding some swirls in there, maybe adding a slant or kind of crossing the cursive and the print, so kind of bringing characteristics from both styles in. And so I didn't do like a set number, or like some of the different stylings don't really translate well into every single letter, but it was just an exercise to practice different ways to change up the letter. Because when we get into practicing, no, you are not. I have seen, if you are sharing samples on Instagram, I am looking at them, and a lot of you guys that don't think that you do well, you are really doing beautifully. And this is just about learning the process and kind of growing with it and finding the style that you can add to your own handwriting. That is also another reason why I didn't want to just give printouts of my stuff, because I don't necessarily want you just to copy what I'm doing, but I want you to take these principles and apply them to your own handwriting, so that way you can find your own flair and your own style. So, because like even for me, I notice I've been doing lettering for a very long time, and I am just now getting more and more confident in my own style, where I can see work out there and go, hey, oh, that is one of my pieces. Like, I'm starting to recognize my own style. And I want you guys to be able to do that also, to be able to tell your lettering apart from someone else's in a very good way, not in a way that makes you feel like yours is inferior, but just that you've owned your handwriting and made it your signature. And so I used our letter anatomy to kind of explain what some of the things that I do to letters to make them more whimsical. Flourishes will be talking more about probably with the brush pens and the calligraphy markers, but sometimes with the J's and the Y's, I can't help but make that little loop, so I did include it there. I will get back to you on the proper name for these. I call them beads. At the end of the tail, I like to add them because sometimes I think it makes it look just a little more finished and polished. Mixing capitals and lowercase or majuscules and minuscules adds whimsy. Staggering the height. So we have the cap line and we have the waistline. When you start to let the letters dance through those lines, you add more whimsy rather than when we did our, I'm going to flip back. Okay. So when we did just plain print and everything is kind of lining up perfectly on the waistline and lining up on the cap line, it really doesn't have character. It doesn't. But when you let those letters bounce a little bit, it starts to get more fun. Like even some of these other ones are, hitting the waistline different or going below. You like the bead? Yeah, it's one of my favorite little things to add. Sometimes letting the descender of a capital go below the baseline because it adds movement to the words. Adding a foot or serif, things like that. So even here, making, so it's, a few people have asked me what the name of the dots on the J and I are, and these are tittles. And the cross of the T and the F are jots. So there's your obscure knowledge for Jeopardy someday. So now let's see. Were there any questions? Anything that I can kind of further explain from today's post? Is there anything that you want to see? I know yesterday it was helpful for me to write a letter and label it out for you guys. And so if there is something, it carried you out of your comfort zone, hopefully in a very good way. If there is anything you wanted some more attention paid to today, that go ahead and put that in the comments and we'll get started. I do have, paper in front of me if there was anything you needed to see written down, and I brought out kind of a wider pen to use so that hopefully it will be easier to see if necessary. Now, someone was asking me about, they think that the grids might not be working for them, and they were asking about slants. So I've been searching on Amazon because I'm trying to find links for you guys. This is a pad of paper that I got to help to see everything I'm doing. Okay. Yeah, well, anytime you want to see a certain word or anything, let me know, and I will work on that in front of you guys, because that's why we're here. That's why we meet up here on Periscope each night, just so that you're not left with any questions. Italics versus regular. Yes. So let's go. Alright. So italic, the cues, yeah, my cues are not that pretty, I don't think. So let me see. A lowercase g? Yep, I certainly can. So let me put you guys up on the tripod. Okay. So, and I'm going to get myself, and those of you that are right-handed, have patience with this lefty, that I don't block the view. Okay. So, let's see. Oh, I thought this was a thicker pen, and it's not. Sorry. I thought I was prepared. Okay, so this is the Identipen by Sakura. The clear drawers, I found them at Marshall's and Home Goods. Okay, so let's see. Oh, you're not late. We're just kind of starting. I just was explaining a little bit about the lesson today, so you've not missed anything. So a lowercase g, I start with the bowl and then bring down the descender and the tail, would be just a basic G. But then there are lots of variations on G's, so you could do something like that. You could cross it like that and do the little, I believe this part's called an ear. That's what we're talking about, labeling. Let's see, what are some of the other variations that I drew? K's give you trouble? Okay, let's see. Here's one more G with just a squiggle. And like when I go back to put the beads, it's usually something like that. You like that one? Okay, so K. Do the third one again. All right, this one. So I would start with the bowl and then add the ear. And of course, no two are ever going to come out exactly alike, but that's the basic shape. So it's, I'll do it one more time. So I'm starting with the bowl, and instead of bringing it all the way up, I'm looping back around. You're funny, just keep writing. Yeah, I have a bunch of lettering notebooks I'm looking at. Not lettering notebooks, just different guidebooks and anatomy of lettering. I've pretty much cleaned out my library of all the lettering resources they have. So like this is the anatomy of lettering, and it's an old text. So it's got like lots of older instructions, and it talks about making the serifs and things like that. And I don't know that we'll get that technical, but it's been fun for me to do a bit of research before I talk to you guys about these things. Is there a trick to keeping my hand from cramping? About the serif and how to use it. I just use, oh yes, this is the Identipen by Sakura. It's the same ones that make the Pigma markers, and it does have 2 points. It has the thin point and a bit thicker. There are a lot of books out there, and like I said, I've got just about every book that our library has is currently in my home, unless someone else has already checked it out. And I'm reviewing them, and I hope to have a good list for you guys as we end this course. The last week that we are together, I'm really trying to pull everything together, like to give you resources for going further with lettering, for more creative lettering books and calligraphy guidebooks if you're into that, other resources for paper, because I tend to, for this course we're doing everything in a composition book, but if you find that you love, that you truly do fall in love with your lettering after this, and you want to do more, you love capital H, but your last name is Haney, so you practice it a lot. Yeah, mine is W, so I do that a lot. I use the dot grids of May books to do lettering practice in my Traveler's Notebook. So there's lots of other things that I'm going to share with you towards the end as we start to move on after we've kind of practiced and learned basics. And I need to plug my phone in before you guys lose me. The capital W. Sorry, tripod errors. Okay, so the I, there's not a whole lot to do with an I to make it whimsical. The capital I, it depends on which style I'm using. For print, I do keep it pretty basic. For cursive, I sometimes do something like that. I think that is more traditional, or the way I learned cursive, but I don't really like that. So I usually end up doing some sort of a cross between the capital J, and I didn't do most capitals in my worksheet. So a capital J, you could certainly do something like that. A cursive R, my maiden name begins with an R, so I used to do lots of R's. Oops. Okay, you want to see Q's. I know, Sarah, you keep saying Q's. I don't like Q's. They're hard. So we start with the bowl, and we're going to the descender, and then, you could leave it like this. Technically, that would be okay, but you want to make it differentiate from the G. Yeah, you noticed I wasn't getting to that, didn't you? So here's another one with the bowl, and you can curve it back. I tend to usually do the tail at an angle for the Q. I don't often use a curve on the Q. But I think that's probably one of the letters that I'm going to be looking up some more samples for. Oh, Lori is my sister. So she's biased, but I love her. How did I just get the camera instead of the hearts? I have no idea. Someone might be screenshotting. I didn't even know that. That's cool. Hi, Lori. Okay, what other letters was I supposed to be doing for you guys? Smart. Girls, you guys have taught me something. I didn't realize that it got a different icon when there was a screenshot. Okay. A W. Okay. So, for a capital W, sometimes I'll do it like that. I like to add little feet to it. Someone said a D. But I tend to do my W's more like a cursive flavor. So, and this can work for capital or lowercase. Or drop one of them below the baseline for more whimsy. And it begins with E, but you never like your cursive E. Capital T. Let's see. So cursive E, yeah, that's another letter that I tend to kind of mix between script and cursive. So one way of doing the E, you could do something like that, which is not formal cursive. You notice the dropping the W today. Yeah, I do end up dropping it a lot because I like to let my letters, some go above and some go below the baseline. And you start to notice how they'll fit together too. And we'll talk about that type of space. Capital S. Yeah, mine, let's see. I tend to do S's with a big bottom. So that would be more printed, but if I didn't do this, it would work for script too. Or, like, I've done S's that way also. And then you can always add, beads to it. Let's see. I'm trying to remember, and I would have to go back to my old penmanship books to find a proper S. But, trying to think, because I know, yeah, like, when we first learned cursive in school, wasn't it something like this? But I never liked that, so I like to do the swirls there instead. A U, so a U, it would really depend on what was going to be my next letter. Yeah, the S's. Add a beak and feet, and I think cursive S looks like a duck. Yeah, it does. I would agree with that. Or a goose, or a swan. Complete bird. You guys are funny tonight. Alright, what else do you guys want to see? Yeah, so the IdentiPen definitely goes through just a single sheet. That was fun. Can't get the whole not using one motion. For cursive. And I think that that's probably just the difference between just regular jotting things down and doing it as creative lettering, picking up for a new line. And if you notice, I do sometimes pause to kind of reorient myself and the pen. So it's okay to take your time, and I think that that's probably the exercise that we're doing too, is learning to just not rush through it, but to take our line and think. The C's, yeah, there's not really much you can change with a C. Like a lot of it will depend. It'll take 10 minutes. Hey, maybe that's okay for some projects. A lot about what you can do with the C is going to depend on what letters are around it. Yeah, some of my pieces take a really long time, and some of them I can go through quickly. So, but yeah, if you notice, I didn't have a whole lot of variation on my C's. It just was the angle changed and whether or not I put a little tail or curve the tail or put an ear. So yeah, I didn't change my C's very much, and they don't change very much from print to cursive either. Someone had asked the difference between print and italic, and so true print would be your straight up and down, where italic is more on a slope or a slant. Hopefully that makes sense. But so yeah, so think of it when you're using computer. You can take Arial, like an Arial font from regular, or you can print it, have it in italics, and it's just going to put everything with a slant. Your hand cramps and then the writing gets bad. And hopefully with short exercises each day, that should help build the muscle memory so that there's not as much cramping. But depends on, oh yeah, that A is fun. You naturally write at a slant. I think when I'm writing, let's see, so I started my 2-to-1 list today. I have a slight slant on my print, and I have more of a slant on my cursive. So yeah, I think most of us, when we were taught penmanship, we had the pen or the paper at a certain angle, so we were taught to use the slant. And when you're writing for more creative lettering, you're really going to play with that slant and the slope a little more and bend those handwriting rules. I lost my train of thought again. Oh, the A. Okay, so that type of A, you're going to start, up here. Or you can do it, I did it this way, and add a foot. Teach you the videos in your blog, definitely. I'm so glad. Should the paper be angled when we write, or should we do whatever? For me, I'm a fan of doing what works. I'm left-handed, and I've been told that how I'm supposed to hold my pen and how I'm supposed to hold my paper, and none of that works for me. And so now I don't listen to those rules. I do what's comfortable for me to get my letters down, because like, from what I was taught in school, as a lefty, I should be holding my pen this way. That is the most uncomfortable thing in the world, and it does not work for me at all. So I don't do that. I hold it kind of the mirror image to someone who's right-handed, because that works for me. And I angle my paper only if what I'm trying to accomplish in my writing requires it. I'm glad I'm not the only person that, yeah, it is crazy, but some people write that way. I remember going to school with people that did, and that was called, like, to hook your hand, and I can't wrap my head around it at all. It's not comfortable, it doesn't feel natural, and no wonder why we lefties always got made fun of. So I break those rules, and I'm a fan of holding the pen the way that is comfortable for you. Sometimes I hold it tight, sometimes I hold it really close to the nib. Excuse me, it really just depends on what the project I'm working on is. So, let's see. I was going to pull, like, here's just a ballpoint pen, and I hold it like this. So that's kind of like a forced slope for me. I don't always go that angle. So, yeah. Like, you want to make fun? Here. So if I were to write right-handed, I would have a left-leaning slope. But I can do a little more with my right hand when I'm working bigger, like at the blackboard with chalk. I can do that, and I can paint a little bit. And I'm learning how to do henna with my right hand, but not so much my handwriting. La 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 la. All right. Oh, thank you. I'm sure if I were to actually practice it, it would get a little bit better, but I am much more comfortable with my left hand, so I don't even try. I used to. All right, so we've been on here for a while, and so we'll start to wrap up. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to let this henna fade so that next week I can do some fresh henna before I go to the 2-to-1. Struggle with a round shape. Will it get easier with practice? I think that it will. Yes, knit left-handed. We can master handwriting. I've knit continental, which I think is the most comfortable for a left-handed person. And that might be why continental came naturally to me. So is there anything else that you guys wanted to see before I start to wrap up? So, anything else? So I've appreciated you guys chatting with me and checking in with me each day. Thank you. Well, this time of night is usually pretty low-key around here. It's only just keeping me from the television, which is not a bad thing. You would like to see a Z. You're welcome. Okay, so let's see. I'll go back to the big pen. Alright, so the Z, like a regular one, is like that. I tend to not add much variation to it except for the tail. I usually add a swirl there. The other, you can cross the Z. The cursive Z is a little bit different. Show you the fancy F. Yeah, Lori's partial to that. That's her last name. There's your F, Lore. So, and the lowercase, sometimes I do it like that. Sometimes it's like that. So, yeah, I mean, for our assignments, we will not go through the whole composition book. So by all means, use the fronts and backs of the pages, practice and doodle. I mean, even if you're just filling the page with all different letters and not writing words, that's okay. Because it's just about finding out what you can do with it. Just play and have fun. Another R. So that would be a lowercase that I would commonly use. Capital. Sometimes I'll just let the tail go below the baseline. Oh, you forgot R or I forgot R? Oh, I didn't do the... You know what? There you go. Yeah, I meant it to be a lowercase, but with the big pen, I couldn't curl it in more. So yes, it did look like a P. Well, there are no pools either. See, an uppercase Q, they heal you. Okay, so let's see. So a print Q is pretty bland. You can make that tail curved. Yeah, there's not a whole lot. I know, like, old school cursive and copper plate would have you doing something that I think looks more like a 2. But yeah, I mean, you can start with an O and then just add your tail to it. But yeah, it's one of those ones that's not quite as fun. So yeah, I apologize to anybody whose last name begins with a Q, because you'll have to do lots of uppercase Qs, and there's not a whole lot of variations to the Qs. But we're gonna talk more about like faux typography tomorrow, and you'll do stuff like that, or you'll do faux brush calligraphy, but this is all for tomorrow. So we'll get there. Anything else you guys want to see before I sign off? This is your last warning. If you have questions after the broadcast ends, you can find me on the blog at CreativLEI.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm CreativLEI there as well. Yeah, a little sneaky preview. You love typography, and for this weekend, we'll be pulling inspiration on Pinterest for typography. You're welcome. Thank you, Amber. See, I don't have much clean paper left. So let's see. Let's give you guys a good night. Until tomorrow. It's been a pleasure chatting with you guys again. I will see you tomorrow, and you'll have your new assignment in the morning. I'll talk to you